Welcome to Walk Me to Sleep. Let the gentle whispers of Dublin guide you into a peaceful evening. As we stroll through charming streets and explore hidden corners, let the soothing atmosphere of this city settle around you. Together, we will discover the stories and sights that wait for us under the Irish sky, inviting you to relax and drift into dreams. The Halfpenny Bridge comes into view, a single white cast-iron arch curving over the River Liffey, its lamp posts lit against the evening sky. The bridge is narrow, just wide enough for two people to pass comfortably, and the iron railings are cool to the touch if you let your hand trail along them as you cross. The river moves below, dark and slow, catching the lamplight in long, broken streaks. You can hear the water, not loudly, just a low, steady pull beneath the sound of footsteps on the metal walkway. The bridge has a particular sound when people walk across it, a faint hollow ring, almost like a drum being tapped from underneath. It has been here since 1816, built so that Dubliners could cross without paying the ferryman, though for a long time they paid a halfpenny toll instead, which is how it got its name. Midway across, two figures stop. One has come from the south bank, one from the north. There is a pause, a half second, where they both just look, and then a laugh, and then an embrace that goes on a beat longer than a casual greeting. When they pull back, they hold each other at arm's length, the way people do when they are quietly accounting for the years. You catch a few words drifting over. You look exactly the same. A short laugh. I absolutely do not. Neither do you. Wow, how long has it been? You pass them and keep walking. The iron railing is cold under your fingers. The river smell is faint. Something mineral, something old. James Joyce, who knew this city as well as anyone ever has, once wrote that in Ireland, the inevitable never happens and the unexpected constantly occurs. Standing on this bridge in the evening, watching two old friends find each other again at the midpoint of a crossing, that feels about right. The far bank comes up quickly, the bridge is short, you step off onto the North Quay, and the hollow ring of footsteps fades. Stepping off the bridge, Temple Bar Street opens ahead, narrow, stone-fronted, lit by the warm glow of pub windows and hanging signs that sway almost imperceptibly in the evening air. The smell reaches you before anything else. Hops and something faintly smoky, the kind of smell that clings to old wood and brick. It drifts out from doorways left half open, mixing with a thread of something sweeter, maybe candle wax, maybe the last of the day's bread from a kitchen somewhere past a closed door. The street is narrow enough that the buildings on either side feel close. Dark facades, painted signs in red and gold, window boxes with flowers that have gone a little ragged at the edges. A chalkboard outside one pub lists the evening specials in looping handwriting, slightly smudged at the bottom. You don't stop to read it fully. People move in both directions, some with purpose, some just drifting. A group of four spills out of a doorway, adjusting jackets, deciding something. A man leans against the wall near a lamppost, phone to his ear, nodding slowly. The lamp above him is already lit, even though the sky hasn't fully darkened yet. Further down the street, music. Not loud, just the low pulse of something with a fiddle in it, coming from inside a pub you haven't reached yet. It rises for a moment, then drops back under the sound of voices and footsteps on stone. Temple Bar has been a gathering place for a long time. This quarter of the city, south of the Liffey, has drawn people to its lanes and taverns for centuries. You can feel that in the way the street holds sound, the way the buildings lean slightly toward each other overhead. You keep walking. The smell of hops follows you a little further than you'd expect. A few steps further into the Temple Bar, and the street asks you to slow down. You've stopped for a moment beside one of the older buildings, a narrow facade with dark painted wood and a window box that needs watering, and you've pressed your palm flat against the wall without really thinking about it. The stone is rough, slightly damp from the evening air that's beginning to settle in. Further along, a pub door swings open and a warm gust comes out with it. Stale hops, something fried, the faint sweetness of whiskey. Not unpleasant, the kind of smell that belongs to a place that has been doing the same thing for a very long time. You breathe it in and keep walking. Someone has left a half-eaten bag of chips on a low wall. A pigeon is working on it with great focus. You give it a wide berth. The pavement here is uneven. The stones worn in the middle where feet have passed for decades, rougher at the edges where they haven't. Your shoes find the rhythm of it without much effort. There's a food stall a little further on, or the remnants of one, A folding table, a few napkins caught under a weight, the ghost of something spiced still hanging in the air. Cumin, maybe, or coriander. It's faint, but it's there, and it makes you think briefly of warmth and something eaten standing up. The evening is coming in slowly. The light hasn't changed much yet, but the air has. There's a coolness at the edges of it now, the kind that arrives before you notice the sky has shifted. A few people have pulled their jackets tighter without breaking stride. You do the same. The street carries on, unhurried. The street opens up a little here, and you slow down without quite deciding to. A few tables sit just inside an open pub door. The kind of door that's been propped wide all evening, letting the noise and warmth spill out onto the stone. 2 pints rest on the table, both half gone, the dark stout leaving faint rings on the wood. 2 people lean toward each other, elbows on the table, the way you do when a conversation has finally found its footing. You catch a fragment as you pass. One voice, low and a little rueful. And I kept meaning to ring. I just never knew what to say after so long. A pause. Then the other. Sure, I was the same. Doesn't matter now, does it? You keep walking. The voices fold back into the hum of the street. Above the pub entrance, a hanging sign sways almost imperceptibly. The painted letters are old, the kind that have been touched up so many times, the edges have softened. Further along, the buildings press closer together, dark brick, tall windows, a drain pipe painted black. A few people stand near a doorway, not quite inside, not quite out, holding their glasses at their sides and talking in the easy way of people who have nowhere else to be. Someone laughs. A short, genuine sound, not performed. The stone underfoot is uneven in places, worn in others. You can feel the difference through your shoes. The slight give of a loose edge, then the solid flat of a well-trodden stretch. The air carries the faint bitterness of stout and something warmer underneath. Maybe wood, maybe old upholstery from a pub interior you can't quite see. A bicycle leans against the wall with no lock on it, which either means someone is coming back in 30 seconds or has completely forgotten it. A small chalkboard outside one of the bars lists the evening specials in handwriting that tilts slightly to the right. You don't stop to read it. The light is still warm, but it's starting to go amber at the edges. The kind of light that makes everything look a little more settled than it probably is. Rounding a slight bend, the street narrows and the buildings press a little closer on either side. Stone underfoot, worn in the middle where feet have passed for decades, rougher at the edges where the mortar still holds its grip. You feel the slight unevenness through the soles of your shoes, each step a small adjustment. It keeps you present. It keeps you slow. The facades along this stretch are painted in deep reds and dark greens, the paint thick and layered, the kind that has been touched up many times over many years. Brass fittings on a pub door catch what light remains. A chalkboard sign leans against the wall outside. The handwriting large and unhurried, listing something about a house stout and a soup of the day. You pass a narrow doorway where a warm amber light leaks out from inside. The smell that comes with it is faint, but real. Something malty, something slightly sweet. The particular warmth of a room that has held a lot of people over a long time. You don't go in, you just note it and keep moving. A few people stand near the corner, coats on, hands wrapped around paper cups. One of them is laughing at something on a phone, tilting the screen toward the other. Ordinary, easy. Further along, a shop window displays a row of small ceramic pieces, harp shapes, green-painted figures, the usual things. The glass is slightly fogged at the bottom corner. Inside, a woman behind the counter is reading something, not looking up. The stone beneath your feet shifts again, a slightly raised edge where 2 sections of paving meet. You step over it without thinking. Temple Bar has this quality in the evening. The daytime noise has thinned, just enough that you can hear individual things again. A door closing somewhere, the low murmur of a conversation you can't quite make out, the faint clink of something glass. You keep walking. The street curves gently ahead, and the light from the next block is a little warmer, a little more orange. The air is cool now, not cold, just cool enough that you're aware of it on your hands. Around the next bend, the street opens just slightly, and the pace around you shifts. Stone facades, dark timber frames, a painted sign above a doorway, the kind of detail you only catch when you slow down. The evening light is doing something particular to the upper floors, a warm amber catching the edges of old brick, while the street level sits in cooler shadow. A few people move past in both directions. A man in a jacket with a paper bag tucked under one arm, two women walking close together, one of them laughing at something the other just said. Nobody is in a hurry. Footsteps on stone, a low murmur of voices from somewhere inside a doorway, the faint clink of glasses. It all layers together without demanding your attention. You pass a pub entrance, its door propped open. From inside comes a low hum of conversation and the faint smell of something warm. Stout, maybe, and old wood. A man leans against the doorframe for a moment, then steps back inside. The sound follows him in and the street goes quiet again. Just ahead, a lamp post is already lit, even though the sky still holds some light. The bulb glows a steady orange against the blue-grey above it. You catch a fragment of conversation from two people just ahead. One of them says, quietly but clearly, "I didn't even recognize you at first, I swear." And the other laughs, a short, genuine laugh. They turn the corner and are gone. The stone underfoot is uneven in places, worn smooth in the middle, where feet have passed for decades, rougher at the edges near the walls. You feel the slight give and shift of it as you walk. Temple Bar ends here, more or less. The street opens just ahead, and the light changes again. Leaving Temple Bar's lanes, Exchequer Street opens ahead, wider, with a different kind of quiet to it. The evening light is low now, catching the upper floors of the buildings on the left side of the street, while the ground level sits in soft shadow. Shop fronts line both sides, some still lit from within, others already dark behind their glass. A few people move along the pavement, a couple walking close together, a man checking his phone outside a doorway, someone pulling a jacket tighter against the cooling air. The stone underfoot is worn here, the kind of surface that tells you a lot of feet have passed over it for a long time. Exchequer Street has been a commercial street in Dublin for centuries. The name itself comes from the old Irish Exchequer, the Royal Treasury Office that once stood nearby. That history sits quietly in the background now, unremarked, while the evening goes about its business. The air has dropped a degree or two since Temple Bar. You notice it on your forearms first. A light wind moves down the street from the direction of South Great George's Street, carrying the faint smell of something fried, chips maybe, from somewhere you can't quite place. A pub on the left has its door propped open. From inside comes the low murmur of voices and the dull percussion of glasses being set down on a wooden bar. You don't go in, you just catch it as you pass. A warm rectangle of amber light, a burst of laughter, then the street again. Two men are standing near the corner, pints in hand, clearly having stepped outside for a moment. You catch a fragment as you pass, one of them saying, "No, she moved to Edinburgh, I think." Or maybe it was Glasgow. The other one shakes his head slowly, like he's trying to remember something from a long time ago. You keep walking. The street curves slightly ahead, and the buildings on the right give way to a gap where you can see a slice of darker sky. The city is settling. Not silent, never quite silent, but slower now, the edges of the evening softening as the last of the daylight drains away. A short walk from Exchequer Street, the statue stands at the corner where Suffolk Street meets the edge of Grafton Street. Bronze, life-sized, a woman leaning forward over her wheelbarrow. Molly Malone. She has been here since 1988, a figure from the old folk song that Dubliners have sung for generations. The lines are simple. A fishmonger who wheeled her barrow through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels. Whether she was a real person, no one can say for certain. But the statue is real enough, and worn in places where so many hands have touched her over the years. You stop in front of her. The bronze has that particular coolness to it, even in the evening air, and where the surface has been touched most, the edge of the barrow, the curve of her arm, it has gone a lighter, almost golden color against the darker patina of the rest. The wheelbarrow in front of her holds two bronze shells, the kind you'd expect from a street seller. Someone has left a small flower tucked against the base. You notice it, then look away. The song drifts to mind. "In Dublin's fair city, where the girls are so pretty, I first set my eyes on sweet Molly Malone." Words from a traditional Irish folk song that most people here could hum without thinking. It's the kind of song that gets sung at the end of things. Last orders, last nights, long goodbyes. Around you, the evening is settling in. A few people pass on the pavement. A couple walking quickly, a man checking his phone, two women pausing to take a photo of the statue and then moving on. The light here is warm, coming from the shop fronts, still open along the street, and from the lamps overhead. The stone underfoot is uneven in places, worn down by years of foot traffic. You can feel the slight give of it, the way your weight shifts as you stand still. From a doorway nearby, maybe from a window above, you catch a few bars of music. Not the folk song, something else, lower, harder to place. It fades before you can identify it. Molly looks out over the street, the same direction she has always faced. The barrow in front of her, the shells inside it, the long evening light catching the side of her face. Leaving Molly Malone on her corner, you step through a nearby pub door and the noise of the street drops away. Inside, the pub is low lit and warm. Dark wood paneling runs along the walls, worn smooth at the edges where hands have rested for years. The bar itself is long, its surface cluttered with pint glasses and a folded newspaper someone left behind. Overhead, a few pendant lights cast amber pools across the room, leaving the corners in comfortable shadow. The smell reaches you properly now, stale hops and something older underneath, wood maybe, or the particular warmth of a room that has held a lot of people over a lot of years. Not unpleasant, the smell of a place that has been well used. A few stools are occupied at the bar. A man in a grey jacket nurses a Guinness, watching nothing in particular. Behind him, two women share a small table near the window, their voices low, a half-eaten plate of something between them. The barman moves without hurry, rinsing a glass, setting it down. You find a spot near the back, where the light is softer. The seat is padded but firm, the kind of chair that has been sat in so many times it has stopped trying to be comfortable and simply is. You rest your arms on the table. The wood is cool under your palms. From somewhere near the front, you catch a fragment of conversation. Two voices, easy with each other, the kind of ease that takes years to build. One of them laughs, a short, surprised sound, and then, "You never told me that part," a pause. "I know, I should have." The fiddle music you heard outside is gone now, replaced by something quieter, a low murmur of voices, the occasional clink of glass on wood, the soft hiss of a tap being pulled. A pint arrives at the table beside yours, dark and settling, the cream head still finding its level. You sit for a moment, there is nothing you need to do. The room holds you without asking anything of you, and the evening outside, Molly Malone on her corner, the stone streets, the last of the light, feels very far away now and very close at the same time. The barman says something to the man in the grey jacket. The man nods. Someone near the door laughs again, quieter this time. Stepping back out into the evening, Grafton Street opens up ahead, wide, pedestrian and lit by the warm glow of shopfront windows and overhead lights strung between the buildings. The pavement here is smooth underfoot, a change from the older stone streets behind you. People move in loose clusters, some pausing to look in windows, others walking with purpose towards somewhere warmer. The shops along either side are still lit, their displays catching the eye. A jeweller's window throwing small points of light, a clothing store with its mannequins posed mid-gesture. A few of the upper floors are dark, but the street level hums with quiet activity. It's evening now, and the daytime crowds have thinned to something more manageable. Somewhere ahead, a busker is playing, a fiddle, low and unhurried, the notes carrying easily down the open street. You can't quite see them yet, but the sound drifts toward you, mixing with the soft shuffle of footsteps and the occasional burst of laughter from a group passing on your left. The air carries something faint, a bakery that's been closed for hours maybe, or a coffee shop still running its last machine of the night. It's not strong, just a trace of something warm and slightly sweet that passes as quickly as it arrives. Two people walk just ahead of you, close together, one of them gesturing as they talk. You catch a fragment. "You haven't changed at all, I swear." And then they're past, their voices folding back into the general murmur of the street. Grafton Street has been a commercial heart of Dublin for centuries, and even now in the evening quiet, you can feel the weight of all the footsteps that have come before yours. The fiddle plays on, a pigeon lands on a windowsill, looks around, and flies off again. You keep walking. Further along, the street narrows slightly, and the evening light settles into something warmer. Shop windows glow on either side. A clothing boutique with a mannequin in a dark coat, a bookshop with a handwritten sign taped to the glass. The pavement is wide, and your footsteps are quiet against it. A few people move past in both directions, unhurried. A woman in a yellow jacket stops to check her phone, then tucks it away and keeps walking. Two teenagers lean against a railing, talking in low voices. Nobody seems to be in a rush. That feeling settles over you too. The busker from before is still audible. A fiddle, not a guitar. The notes are quick and bright, a reel that cuts through the evening air with a kind of cheerful insistence. A small cluster of people has stopped to listen, standing in a loose half-circle. One man taps his foot without seeming to notice he's doing it. You pass a narrow side entrance between two shops, a dark corridor with a single bulb above the door, a stack of wooden pallets leaning against the wall, the kind of gap that exists in every city, unremarkable and easy to miss. You notice it and move on. The fiddle fades a little as you walk further down. In its place, the general sound of the street reasserts itself. Voices, the soft scrape of a chair being pulled out somewhere, the distant rumble of a bus on a cross street. A couple walks ahead of you, close together, one of them carrying a paper bag from a bakery. You catch a fragment as they pass. "I told you we should have eaten before." The other one laughs. They keep walking. So do you. The fiddle picks up again, just faintly, carried on the air from somewhere behind. Grafton Street stretches ahead, wide and open in the evening air. The shops on either side have their lights on, warm yellows spilling out onto the stone pavement. But the crowds have thinned now, and the street feels more like itself. Less performance, more place. Somewhere not far behind you, a busker is still playing. The melody drifts forward with you. Something slow, a little melancholy, the kind of tune that doesn't demand your attention, but stays with you anyway. You can't quite make out the words anymore, just the shape of the song. The smell here is layered. There's something sweet drifting from a bakery that's nearly closed. The last warmth of the day's bread, faint but real. Underneath it, the faint green smell of the evening air, cooler now than it was an hour ago. You pull your jacket a little closer. The pavement is smooth underfoot in places, worn down by years of foot traffic. A few pigeons pick at something near a bench. A woman walks past with a paper bag tucked under one arm, moving quickly, not looking around. A teenager sits on a low step, phone in hand, earbuds in, entirely elsewhere. The shop fronts along this stretch are a mix. A pharmacy with a green cross still lit, a shoe shop with its gate half pulled, a cafe whose chairs are already stacked on the tables inside. The ordinary end-of-evening business of a street winding down. Further along you can see the dark red facade of Bewley's Oriental cafes, a Dublin institution, open since the 1800s, its stained glass windows glowing faintly from within. The smell of coffee and something warmer drifts from its direction, just barely reaching you here. You slow your pace. There's no reason to rush. The street is quiet enough now that your footsteps have a sound, a soft, even rhythm on the stone. A couple walks ahead of you, close together, not talking. A tram bell rings somewhere in the distance. One clean note, then nothing. The evening has settled in properly now. The sky above the rooftops is a deep blue-grey, and the lampposts along Grafton Street are fully lit, casting long, pale circles on the pavement below. It's the kind of light that makes everything look a little softer than it is. A few steps off Grafton Street and you're through the heavy door of Bewley's. Bewley's Oriental Cafes has been on Grafton Street more or less since the 1830s. The facade is dark and ornate, with stained glass panels glowing amber and red from within. Inside, the air is warm and close. The smell of roasted coffee and something baked, sweet, slightly caramelized, settles around you the moment you step in. Dark wooden booths line the walls, worn smooth by decades of elbows and coats. The ceiling is high, the light is the color of old brass. You find a booth and sit. A pot of Bewley's house blend arrives without much ceremony, deep amber, steaming, with a faint smokiness that drifts up as you pour. The cherry bun beside it is soft and slightly dense, studded with glacé cherries that are sticky sweet against the plain dough. You wrap both hands around the cup and let the warmth move up through your palms. The tea is strong, the booth holds the heat. Somewhere in the back of your mind, a line surfaces, from W.B. Yeats, the poet who knew this city as well as anyone. I have met them at close of day, coming with vivid faces, from counter or desk, among grey 18th century houses. It fits here. The faces around you are vivid in exactly that way. Tired, a little flushed, glad to be sitting down. Across the room, near the far corner, two people sit at a small table. Not pints this time, cups of tea, like yours. The energy between them is quieter than it might have been earlier in the evening. One leans forward, elbows on the table, saying something low. The other listens without interrupting, nodding slowly. You catch a fragment. It wasn't that I didn't miss it. I missed it all the time. I just didn't know how to come back. Then the room's soft noise closes back over it. You look away. You take another sip. The tea has cooled just enough to drink properly now. The booth holds you like a room within a room. Around you, Bewley's carries on at its own unhurried pace. The low murmur of other tables, the occasional scrape of a chair, the soft clatter of a cup being set down somewhere behind you. The ceiling is high, the walls dark with wood paneling, and the stained glass windows, deep reds and ambers, throw color across the floor in long, still patches. The smokiness in the tea has settled into something rounder, almost malty. You take another sip and let it sit for a moment before swallowing. Bewley's has been on Grafton Street since 1840, though the current building dates from 1927, and it feels it, not in a neglected way, but in the way of a place that has absorbed a great deal of time and simply kept going. Writers sat here, students argued here, people waited for news, good and bad, at these same tables. The cherry bun is half gone. You pull off another piece. The dough is plain and a little dense, and the glacé cherry in the middle is very sweet, almost candied. It works, somehow, against the bitterness of the tea. A few tables over, you catch a voice, low, unhurried. I kept thinking I'd come back for Christmas, and then it was just years. A pause, then the other one, quieter. I know, me too. You don't look over. You look at the stained glass instead, the way the amber panel catches the light from outside and holds it, warm and still, like something preserved. The room is not loud. It is not quiet either. It is the particular sound of people who have nowhere else to be right now. Cups, low voices, the occasional laugh from the counter. Someone orders a second pot. A spoon rings against porcelain. You finish the last of your tea. The cup is warm in your hands, even after it's empty. You push back through the heavy wooden doors of Bewley's, and the warmth from inside takes a moment to leave your skin. The facade is worth one more look before you move on. The stained glass panels, designed by the artist Harry Clark, glow faintly from within, their deep reds and blues catching the lamplight from the street. Clark was one of Ireland's most celebrated stained glass artists, and these windows are among the last things he completed. They don't announce themselves. You have to stop and actually look. Above the entrance, the lettering reads, Bewley's Oriental Cafés, in clean, dark type against the pale stone. A few people are still at the outdoor tables, coats on now, cups cradled in both hands. One man is looking at something on his phone, not really reading it. A woman across from him is watching the street. From somewhere just inside the open door, you catch the smell of dark roasted coffee, not fresh brewed exactly, more like the accumulated warmth of a room that has been making coffee all day. It sits in the air the way wood smoke does. Two people pass close by, mid-conversation, and you catch a fragment. I didn't even recognize you at first, I swear. And then they're past, their voices folding back into the general hum of Grafton Street. The street itself is quieter now than it was an hour ago. A few shop fronts have dimmed their lights. Footsteps on the stone are more distinct, less layered. Someone's umbrella taps the ground in a slow, uneven rhythm as they walk. You take one last look at the windows, the colors, the lead lines, the way the light holds inside the glass, and then you turn south. The night is still mild. Turning off the main street, you step into George's Street Arcade, a long Victorian hall with a vaulted roof of iron and glass, the kind of structure that was built to last and has. The light inside is warm and slightly dim, filtered through the old glazed panels overhead. Stalls line both sides, a vintage clothing rack, a jewelry table with rings laid out on dark velvet, a shelf of second-hand paperbacks with their spines faded to pale versions of their original colors. Someone has a record player running somewhere near the middle. You can hear it, just barely, a low crackle before the music starts. The smell in here is particular. Old wood, a trace of incense from one of the stalls, and underneath it all, something that might be the stone floor itself, cool and faintly damp, the way old buildings hold on to the air. You pass a stall selling handmade candles, and for a moment the scent shifts to something warmer, waxy and faintly floral. Then you're past it, and the stone smell comes back. Off to one side, through an archway, is the market bar. A long, high-ceilinged room that was once a Victorian sausage factory, though you'd never guess it now. The ceiling is still the original pressed tin, and the bar runs almost the full length of the room. It's quieter than you might expect. A few people sit at small tables, talking in low voices. Glasses catch the light. You catch a fragment from a nearby table. Two men, older, leaning in over their pints. She's in Vancouver now, if you can believe it. A pause. God, how long has it been? You find a stool at the bar. The bread arrives on a small wooden board. A thick slice of brown soda bread, still faintly warm. The crust gives a dry, papery crackle when you press it. Butter goes on, and it melts almost immediately into the crumb, leaving a rich, grassy slick across the surface. The taste is earthy and slightly tangy. Simple. It's enough. The glass in front of you fogs slightly at the base. Somewhere above, the tin ceiling holds the quiet in. Drury Street opens up ahead, and the first thing you notice is the smell. Something warm and yeasty drifting from a bakery that's still running its ovens, layered underneath with the faint sweetness of spilled cider and something fried. It's the kind of smell that reaches you before you've even registered where you are. You slow down a little without meaning to. The evening air has a slight chill to it now. Not cold, just enough to feel it on the backs of your hands and along your collar. The warmth from the crowd ahead pushes back against it, and you move through that invisible line where the two meet, cool on one side, warm on the other. Somewhere nearby, someone is cooking with garlic. You can't see where. It's just there, threading through everything else. The bread smell, the cider, the faint trace of cigarette smoke from a doorway you pass. Dublin in the evening has a particular layering to it. One thing on top of another, nothing quite separate. You pass a small outdoor table where two people are sharing a plate of chips, and the smell of salt and hot oil is sharp and immediate. One of them is talking with their hands, the other is laughing. You catch a fragment, and he just stood there, didn't say a word, before the crowd noise swallows the rest. A group spills out of a doorway to your left, bringing a brief gust of warm pub air with it. That mix of old wood, beer, and something almost sweet, like caramel. It's gone in a second. The door swings shut behind them. The street is filling up. Not packed, just full in the way a good evening fills a place, gradually, without anyone deciding to. String lights stretch overhead in long arcs, their warm glow falling across the street below in soft pools of amber. You look up for a moment. The bulbs are close enough together that the whole lane feels lit from within, like the inside of a lantern. People move in loose clusters. Some are standing, drinks in hand, leaning against the walls of the buildings that line both sides of the street. Others are seated at small tables pulled out onto the pavement, chairs scraping occasionally on the stone. A group near the corner is laughing, not at anything you can hear clearly, just that kind of laughter that builds on itself. Someone sets a glass down too hard, and it rings out, and then there's more laughter. The buildings here are a mix. Older brick faces with painted signs, a few shop fronts still lit from inside, even at this hour. One window has a hand-lettered board propped against the glass. You can't quite read it from here. A string of paper flags runs between two upper windows, the colors faded, but still catching the light when the air moves. You feel the warmth of the crowd even from the edge of it. Not heat exactly, just the difference between standing near people and standing alone. You step around a folded jacket someone has left on the ground beside a chair leg. Two men are standing just ahead, pints in hand, and you catch a fragment as you pass. I'm telling you, it was the same pub, same corner table. And then you're past them, the words dissolving back into the general noise. A child is sitting on a low step near a doorway, watching the crowd with wide, calm eyes, not bored, not excited, just watching. A woman crouches down beside them, says something, and the child points at something across the street. The woman looks, nods. They stay like that for a moment. Then she stands and takes the child's hand. The street keeps moving around them. The smell reaches you first, something warm and yeasty still drifting from the direction of the food stalls. Bread, or a soft roll, still hot from wherever it came from. Mixed in underneath it is something else. Hops maybe, and the faint sweetness of cider. A pub door swings open somewhere behind you, and a wave of it rolls out. Warm air, stale and rich, the particular smell of a room that has been full of people for hours. Then the door closes, and it's gone. Someone nearby is eating something from a paper cone, roasted nuts by the smell of it, something caramelized and faintly smoky. The scent is thick and sweet, and it hangs in the air longer than you'd expect. You don't stop, but you breathe it in. The crowd presses gently around you. Not uncomfortable, just present. A shoulder brushes yours. The air is cooler than it was an hour ago, and you can feel it on the back of your hands, on your face. The warmth from the crowd and the food stalls fills in the gaps. It's that particular evening temperature where you're not quite cold, but you're aware that you could be. Two voices drift past, close enough to catch a fragment. One of them says, "I forgot how good this is, honestly." The other laughs. Then they're gone into the crowd. You keep walking. The smell of bread is still faintly there. The string lights are still overhead, but the crowd has thinned a little. Just enough that you can see the full length of Drury Street now, the way it stretches ahead with its mix of shop fronts and pub signs, some lit, some dark. The market stalls that line the edges are winding down for the night. A vendor folds a canvas awning, the fabric making a soft slapping sound as it collapses. Another is stacking wooden crates, the hollow knock of each one landing on the last. The smell here is layered, something sweet from a candle stall nearby, and underneath it the faint char of a grill that's been burning all evening. Not unpleasant, just present. A few people are still browsing. A man in a dark jacket holds up a small print, something hand-illustrated, hard to make out from here, turning it toward the light to get a better look. A woman behind the stall watches him, arms crossed, patient. He sets it back down. She doesn't move. The music from earlier has faded to something quieter. There's a low hum of conversation from the pub on the corner, a door swinging open and shut, each time releasing a brief, warm burst of sound. Voices, a laugh, the clink of glass, before the street goes quiet again. You catch a fragment drifting out. Years, and it still looks exactly the same in here. And then the door swings shut. The paving stones here catch the light from the string bulbs at their edges, throwing small shadows between each one. A paper cup rolls slowly across the street, pushed by a draft from a passing cyclist. The cyclist is already gone. The cup stops against a drain, the street settles. Drury Street at this hour has a particular quality, not empty, not full, just easing. The market is nearly packed away, the evening crowd drifting toward wherever the night takes them next. The smell of the candle stall lingers a little longer than everything else. The gates of St. Stephen's Green are just ahead, 2 stone pillars and a low iron fence, and beyond them, the dark shapes of trees against a sky that has gone from blue to something deeper. You step through. The noise of the street drops almost immediately. Not silence. There are still voices, footsteps on gravel, the distant sound of traffic. But the quality of the sound changes. It spreads out. The park absorbs it. The paths here are wide and edged with low hedges, and the lamps along them have come on, casting circles of yellow light across the gravel. Between the lamps, the dark is soft rather than sharp. You can still see the outlines of things, a bench, a tree, the curve of the path ahead. Oscar Wilde grew up not far from here, on Merrion Square, and knew these streets and parks the way you know a place you've walked since childhood. A line of his comes to mind, one that fits an evening like this when the city is lit and the sky is going dark. We are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars. You look up. The sky above the park is dark enough now that a few stars are visible between the clouds. Faint, but there. The lamps along the path make the darkness above them seem deeper by contrast. A couple passes on the path ahead, walking slowly, not talking. Their footsteps are quiet on the gravel. Somewhere off to the left, a duck makes a low sound near the water. The pond is just visible through the trees, a flat, dark surface catching the lamplight in long, broken lines. You follow the path further in. The city is still out there, just beyond the fence. But in here, for now, it's just the lamps and the gravel and the dark shapes of the trees. Further along the path, the flower beds open up on either side. Orange, pink, and red petals catching the lamplight, the colors deeper and richer now that the sky has darkened. The scent is faint, but there, something sweet and green carried on the air. Benches line the edges of the beds, and a few people are still sitting. A couple talking quietly, a group of friends on a longer bench, their voices rising and falling in the easy rhythm of people who know each other well. You catch a laugh, then a lower murmur, then another laugh. An oak tree stands at the bend in the path, its trunk wide and dark, its branches spreading out overhead. The leaves move slightly in the evening air, a dry, papery sound. You pass beneath it and feel the temperature drop a degree or two in its shadow. Footsteps crunch on the gravel ahead. A jogger passes, moving at a steady pace, their breath visible in the cooler air. A dog barks somewhere across the grass, and a child's voice answers it, high and clear. Then quiet again. Near the small fountain at the center of the path, the water catches the lamplight as it falls. The sound of it is low and continuous, not loud enough to cover the other sounds, just present underneath them. A couple nearby shares a thermos, passing it back and forth without speaking. The steam rises and disappears. You slow your pace a little. The park at this hour has a particular quality, not empty, not busy, just occupied in a quiet way. People spread across it in small groups, each in their own moment. You take a breath. The air is cool and smells of grass and damp earth. The path curves gently, and the grass on either side is dark now, the colour gone out of it in the low light. It's cool underfoot through your shoes. You can feel the slight give of the ground, softer here away from the gravel. A low branch hangs across the path, and you duck slightly as you pass, the leaves brushing your shoulder. From somewhere across the park, music drifts over, something quiet, a melody you can't quite place, carried unevenly on the air. It comes and goes as the breeze shifts. Underneath it, the sound of voices from a group on the grass, their words indistinct, but their tone easy and relaxed. A few people are spread across the lawn on blankets, lying back or sitting up, talking in low voices. One woman is walking quickly along the edge of the grass, a bag over one shoulder, heading somewhere. A group of 4 or 5 has pulled together in a loose circle, and one of them is telling a story. You can tell by the way the others are leaning in slightly, waiting. The sky overhead has gone a deep blue-grey, and the scattered lamps along the paths make the spaces between them seem darker by contrast. The light from the city beyond the park walls gives the clouds a faint orange tint at the edges. You step back onto the gravel path. The sound of your footsteps comes back, that dry crunch, steady and even. Ahead, the path opens onto a wider section of the park, the lamps more closely spaced, the hedges lower. The evening has settled fully now. The park is quieter than it was when you entered. The earlier energy softened into something slower. You keep walking. The gravel path leads on. The path widens near the pond, and the lamplight reaches further here, falling across the water in long broken lines. A few ducks move slowly across the surface, leaving small ripples that spread and fade. Their low sounds carry in the quiet, not loud, just present. To your right, a group of friends sits on a bench, each with an ice cream cone. They're talking over each other in the comfortable way of people who don't need to take turns. The ice cream is going fast in the cool air. One of them laughs and tilts their cone to catch a drip. A woman walks past on the path, sandals quiet on the stone, a coffee cup in one hand. The smell of it reaches you briefly, dark and warm, before she's passed, and the smell of grass comes back. To your left, a couple watches a child chase pigeons across the grass. The pigeons scatter and regroup. The child follows. The couple laughs. An older man sits against a tree trunk nearby, a book open on his knee, the pages shifting slightly in the air. He doesn't look up. The path curves ahead, lined with low hedges, leading toward the far edge of the park. The sky is a deep blue now, and a few stars show between the clouds, faint, but there, just as Wilde suggested they might be. The sounds of the evening have settled into a steady, low register, distant voices, leaves moving, the soft crunch of gravel underfoot. A faint melody drifts from somewhere near the park's edge. A musician, maybe, setting up or finishing. You can't tell which. The sound is thin and clear in the cool air. A few more steps and the iron fence comes into view, and beyond it, the lights of Grafton Street. The park holds its quiet for one more moment. Then you walk on. Grafton Street opens around you under a darkened sky. Brightly lit shop fronts carry signs for Canada Goose and Mango, their reflections stretching across the wet pavement. The architecture shifts between red brick buildings with detailed stonework and modern glass facades, old and new pressed side by side. Voices rise above the sound of footsteps, a steady rhythm of the evening crowd. Laughter breaks through from a nearby café where a group of friends sits over steaming cups. The smell of coffee drifts out, mixing with something sweet from a street vendor further along. Underfoot, smooth tiles give way to rougher stone, worn down by years of foot traffic. The ground still holds a faint warmth from the day. A breeze carries the scent of fried dough from a pushcart nearby. A donut, perhaps, or something glazed and warm. A couple a few steps ahead pauses at a window display, gesturing and laughing at something inside. Nearby, a dog pulls at its lead, nose working overtime at all the smells. Shoppers move in their own orbits. A woman with several bags hurries past, heels clicking against the pavement. Closer to the shop windows, a group of teenagers debates a pair of shoes, heads together, voices low. Street lamps cast long shadows. that shift as you walk through them. The sky above is deep and dark, a few stars visible between the clouds. In the quieter gaps between voices, you catch the faint sound of a guitarist somewhere nearby, a few notes floating above the general noise. Ahead, the street narrows toward an alley, its shadows deeper than the lit stretch behind you. The night has a particular energy here. Not loud exactly, but full. People moving, talking, pausing, the city doing what it does. A few steps further, and the street draws you past the open door of a pub, its wooden bar visible from the pavement. Conversation rolls out in waves, laughter, the low murmur of debate, the occasional sharp exclamation. Bright lights hang overhead inside, catching the polished surfaces of the bar. A bartender pours a pint, the froth rising steadily against the glass. Through the window you can see bottles lined along the back wall, their amber and green catching the light. A clock on the wall ticks steadily, marking the hour. Just inside the entrance, a cluster of friends raises their glasses. You catch a few words. "I can't believe it's already October," one says. And another replies, "I know, time flies." Outside, footsteps and laughter continue along the pavement. A faint smell of fish and chips drifts from a vendor further down the street. The pub walls, visible through the glass, are hung with framed photographs and old memorabilia, images that suggest decades of evenings just like this one. You glance back toward the main stretch. Pedestrians pass in both directions, some slowing to look in through the pub windows. A man nearby adjusts his cap and looks around, taking stock of the scene. A couple walks past in quiet conversation, their voices low beneath the general noise. From somewhere further down, the faint sound of a guitar carries through the air. You let the pub fall behind you, its sounds, laughter, clinking glass, the low hum of talk, fading as you move on into the night. Around the next bend, the smell of fried dough reaches you before the stall comes into view. A vendor along Grafton Street is turning out fresh churros, the scent warm and sweet against the cooler evening air. Bright lights reflect off the polished stones underfoot, which feel slightly damp beneath your shoes. Nearby, a group of friends shares a laugh, faces flushed from the cold and the company. A couple leans close, speaking quietly, their voices lost in the general noise of the street. Plastic bags rustle, shoes scuff the ground, small sounds that layer into the evening's backdrop. The shop windows along this stretch are full of color, clothing, accessories, art. Mannequins catch the light, dressed in the season's latest. Each display has its own character, its own small argument for your attention. A tram rumbles along its tracks somewhere nearby, its vibration passing through the ground beneath you. The metallic sound fades as it moves on, and the street settles back into its rhythm. From a pub, a little further along, laughter spills out onto the pavement. A burst of it, then voices settling back into conversation. The night is well underway for the people inside. As you walk, the smell of warm pastry drifts from a bakery doorway, brief and faint. The stone underfoot feels cool through your shoes. You pause for a moment to look at the buildings, older facades pressed against newer ones, the street holding both without much fuss. It's a working street, not a museum piece. Then, from somewhere close, a voice cuts through. "No, the other door." A couple fumbling with keys, laughing at themselves. A small, ordinary moment, the kind that sticks. The night still has more to show. The stone underfoot is cool and smooth, slightly slick from the evening air. A light breeze carries laughter and conversation from a bar nearby. The facade ahead is dark except for warm golden light pushing out through the windows and door. A group of friends stands outside, talking over each other, their voices mixing with the low sound of music from inside. Shadows stretch across the pavement, broken by the glow of overhead lamps. The warmth from the bar's open door contrasts with the chill of the night. A cyclist rolls past, wheels clicking over the cobbles, the sound fading quickly into the general noise of footsteps and voices. The bar's entrance is a simple wooden door, slightly open. The air near it carries the smell of malt and hops, mixing with the cold. At a small table just outside, a couple sits close together, speaking quietly, their faces lit by the lamp above them. You notice a mural tucked into a corner of the building, bright colors catching the light, figures in mid-celebration. People brush past you, unhurried, absorbed in the evening. A woman in a black jacket walks by with earbuds in, moving at her own pace through the crowd. From somewhere inside, faint jazz weaves through the air. You pause and let the sound settle around you. A child's laugh, glasses clinking, the low murmur of conversation. The moment holds for a breath or two. The air is crisp. Further down, the outline of Fleet Street begins to take shape, its pubs lit and waiting. The night is not finished yet. Leaving Grafton Street behind, the air on Fleet Street carries the smell of aged wood and hops from the pubs lining both sides. The Palace Bar's bright blue sign glows at number 21, hanging baskets of flowers vivid against the dark facade. A crowd has gathered outside, their conversations a low, steady hum. Laughter breaks through as glasses clink together. Patrons lean against wooden railings or perch on high stools, drinks in hand. A man in a short-sleeved shirt gestures as he talks, his voice rising above the others. You catch pieces of it. Did you see that match? And then an offer of another round. The pavement beneath your feet is firm and cool, worn smooth by years of evenings like this one. Nearby, a group shares a paper cone of chips, the warmth visible in the steam rising from them. The smell of fried potato mixes with the flowers from the hanging baskets, an unlikely combination that somehow works. A light breeze moves through, briefly cutting the warmth of the crowd. A waiter moves quickly past, tray balanced with pints that catch the street lamplight. At a small table, a couple sits laughing, the noise of the street fading around them. Their fingers are interlaced. She nudges him. He smiles. Further down Fleet Street, a busker's guitar drifts through the air, soft and steady. A small crowd has gathered around him, a few people swaying slightly. The street continues to move around you, full and unhurried. The night is still going. Warm light spills from the pub windows along Fleet Street, the golden glow spreading across the cool stone pavement. A statue stands outside one of the restaurants, cast in shadow beneath the street lamps, its posture suggesting something of the history of the place. Flags of several nations hang above the entrance, their colors, deep red, bright blue, yellow, catching the light against the brick. Laughter comes through an open door, voices layering into something indistinct but cheerful. Glasses clink inside. Outside, you catch pieces of conversation, someone debating a favorite drink, someone else recounting the local team's result. The smell of fried food drifts past, followed by the cooler scent of freshly poured beer. The night air is sharp against your face, a contrast to the warmth radiating from the pub doorways. One pub carries a sign reading, "Establishment of Good Cheer," the letters glowing steadily. The woodwork on the buildings is dark and heavy, while ivy creeps up the walls and small potted flowers sit on the window ledges, adding something softer to the street. A couple steps out of a pub, laughter still on their faces. They pause under a lamp for a moment, close together, before moving on. Above, the sky is deep navy. Clouds shift and a few stars show through the gaps. At the far end of the street, a corner pub sits with a rusted sign, the Oliver Twist, its windows warm and its door open. The kind of place that looks like it has been there a long time and intends to stay. Each step carries you further into the night, the sounds of Fleet Street settling behind you as you move on. The cobbled path carries your footsteps forward, past the warm glow of several more pubs. Voices rise and fall from the tables outside, laughter, the tail end of a story, someone calling for another round. At one pub, a group of friends is gathered around an outdoor table, faces animated in the lamplight. You slow for a moment, and that's when you notice them. Two people sitting slightly apart from the group, leaning toward each other across the table. One of them is talking quickly, hands moving. The other is listening with the kind of attention that suggests they haven't seen each other in a long time. Old friends, by the look of it. You catch a fragment as you pass. "I still can't believe you ended up here of all places." The other one laughs, a real laugh, the kind that takes a moment to settle. The air carries a chill, but the buildings hold warmth in their brick. Hanging lanterns light the path ahead, picking out small details, a flyer on a lamppost, a dog curled by a pub entrance, unbothered by the noise. The smell of something savory drifts from a nearby kitchen, the kind of late-night pub food that makes sense at this hour. Battered fish, maybe, or a plate of fries with vinegar. The pavement is cool and steady underfoot. You fall into the rhythm of the street without thinking about it. A man passing the other way offers a quiet, "Good evening," and keeps walking. Someone further along calls out, "Did you really think they'd run out of cider?" Met with laughter from the group around them. Ahead, a neon sign reads Temple Bar, its light steady against the dark. The street carries you toward it. Behind you, the two old friends are still talking, their voices folding into the general sound of the night. The walk is done now. Dublin fades behind you. The bridge, the stone lanes, the amber glow of pub windows, the fiddle notes that followed you down Grafton Street. Let it all go quiet. You don't need to hold on to any of it. Just let the evening settle and let yourself drift. Thank you for walking with us tonight. This has been Walk Me to Sleep by Bears with Apps.
Travel the world in your mind and fall asleep along the way. Try it at walkmetosleep.com.